The Care Credit credit card is a friendly, flexible way to pay over time for veterinary care for your horse, dog, cat, and other animals in your family. It's your card for a lifetime of care, subject to credit approval. To learn more, visit carecredit.com/3day with the number 3.
Welcome to Barn Banter, the podcast by Horse Illustrated. Each month, we bring guests to educate, entertain, or inspire you as you pursue the horsey lifestyle, plus an adoptable horse with a unique story. I'm Susan Friedland, an equestrian author, blogger, and speaker with a soft spot for off-track thoroughbreds. You can find me at my blog, saddleseekshorse.com, or on Facebook or Instagram at saddleseekshorse.
And I'm Holly Kakamis, editor-in-chief of Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazines. You can find us at horseillustrated.com, youngrider.com, and Horse Illustrated and Young Rider on Instagram and Facebook.
I am so excited about this episode today. We are going to get to talk to an author, Natalie Keller Reinert. She has a new book coming out, The Jump, which is about a working student. And Holly, I understand that you were once a working student back in the day before you were editor of Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazine. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yes. So technically I was a paid groom, which, probably.
Oh, sorry. I got that all wrong.
No, I wanted to bring my horse and have more of that working student experience where my horse would travel with us and I could, pay my own money to enter the shows, whatever. I just wanted him to be with me because I was 24. I had just finished school. I had just bought a horse a couple months ago, an off-track thoroughbred that I wanted to be an eventer. And so that was my dream, and I was just working in, temporary office jobs. It was not any sort of a dream. So I was always job hunting, and it was back in the day with, I don't know if it was online classifieds. I don't even remember what kind of classified where the horse jobs were listed. And there was one like riding Lipizzans for some sort of performance troupe. And I think I emailed them and they're like, you need videos of like yourself riding Grand Prix dressage movements. And I did not have that. I had ridden some nice horses that did some of the moves, but no video. This was 2001 or 2. So, it wasn't like today where everyone has a smartphone to record their every move on the back of a horse. And then I saw this one, groom for, upper level eventer, travel the circuit, ride in, between Ocala in the winter and Virginia in the summer, which is just like this book, the girl in the book. So I applied, not really thinking much of it. And she literally contacted me immediately, said, throw your clothes in the car and drive down to Ocala. This was the end of December, after Christmas, and meet us there on January 1st. And I'm like, what? Like, this is happening? And, my life at the time, I was renting a room from a friend as a roommate, did not have a pet. And I was like, well, what about my horse? She said, no, you can't bring your horse. So I kind of scrambled around, found a friend in Kentucky who was willing to lease him while I was gone. Because my plan was kind of to be gone for maybe like a year. I didn't really know. See if I liked it, see if I wanted to be a, person that worked in a barn, maybe become a trainer for my life. And so this was kind of like the girl in the book. She's trying to make this decision. Is she going to break into this world? And it's like her full-time life forever. So I got, arrangements made, threw my clothes in the car, went down to a furnished apartment in Ocala, shared with the other groom, just like the book. The lady I worked for was a wealthy woman whose husband had basically told her to quit her job and do this full time. And her trainer went down to the same barn, her south quarters, for the winter with her and brought his horses, and they both competed every weekend, 4 horses each at least. So I was braiding, grooming, feeding, riding, getting some lessons, riding nice horses. It was, that part was a dream. But the lifestyle, I think it was more just backbreaking labor was not really my jam. I tried to do everything the best I could. And she, I said, I don't think I want to go back to Virginia when you guys leave Ocala in April. And she said,
how did that go over?
Not good. Not good. She also wanted 30 days notice if I were to leave. So I tried to tell her 30 days before we left. So like end of March. And she's like, no, I've got a horse still in Virginia. That can be your horse. You can ride him. You can show him. So I was like, okay, well, maybe if I get to show, this will be better. So, it's just starting to
Wait, you gave her an extension? You already notified that you didn't want to do this anymore, and then she tried to sweeten the deal by giving you a fancy horse?
Yes, and I said, okay. So I don't think I've ever told this story really to anyone, so I'll just, if you like, I'll just keep going. So I went back to Virginia, and it was basically after Rolex Kentucky that they relocated back up to Virginia. At that point, her trainer was in Middleburg, and she was at her personal farm just outside the DC suburbs in Virginia. Absolutely beautiful. People there used to have horses like on their property, and she was one of the last horse properties left. It's so gorgeous there. And so I see this horse. He is this black, like sturdy, kind of like quarter draft looking, shiny black with a stripe and 4 white socks, just the most beautiful horse. He'd been fox hunting while she was gone. So I'm like, oh, well, great. So I think I've told you this part. I rode the horse and fell off of him.
I vaguely remember this.
3 or 4 times in a week, which when you're in really good shape and riding 4 horses every day, it's hard to get you off, but he was just terrible. And I said, I can't get this horse over a cross rail. I'm not going to show him. So
wait, what was he doing that was getting you off?
Oh, he would like trot up to the cross rail like he was going to jump it and be like, on the lift off, you committed to the jump, and then like stop and plow his legs under the jump, and I would go flying. Or one time we were cantering for fitness in the field, and he just stopped and spun going down a hill, and I just soared off of him. So I told her that wasn't going to work out for me. And so then, I tried to quit again, and she let me ride like this really nice, kind of schoolmaster that it was at least going prelim. I think one of her students was trying to sell him or something. So I rode him at training. That's still to this day the only time I've gone around 3 phases at training level. And that was great. He was great. And I said, I just don't want to be here. I need to quit. And she finally goes, well, you can bring your horse. You can take your horse. You can bring your horse here. We'll have him here.
Oh
and at this point, I was just like too done. She was like the only person in Virginia that I was around. I didn't have the other groom anymore. I didn't have other people anymore. And we just, she was not a warm personality to like really bond over, any of this. And I just felt very isolated and alone. And like emotionally, I don't think I've ever been in a worse place in my life. Like you're working 11 hours, 6 days a week. In the summer, you have to come back to the barn at 9:30 to put the horses out after the bugs kind of go away. So you get all dirty and sweaty again, and you're just always like too tired to even eat dinner. So I just decided, you know what? I was doing all this to avoid working in an office. And right now, nothing sounds better than indoor air conditioning and heating in the winter. And all this evil office that I wanted to avoid, like, sign me up. That is where I belong. So went back to Kentucky finally.
This is amazing. And I'm sorry that I feel like you were taken advantage of there.
I mean,
because you're a hard worker.
At some point what she had, and that's why she started scrambling so hard to keep me, because she was just burning through grooms, and I was there 8 months and did everything exactly as she wanted, like took good care of the horses, like nothing ever slipped. Could ride decent enough to help keep the horses fit. All I wanted was like showing and to have my horse like be in the barn. I even told her, I'll ride him after hours. It's not on the clock. And so I think finally she was like, okay, you can bring him. And I was just like, no, it's too late. I've got to go. So I finally left. She's like, but you haven't given me 30. No. Oh no, that was what it was. It was like, you can leave when I find your replacement. So it changed from 30 days notice to like, well, so it was more than 30 days. And I was like, it's been more than 30 days.
I don't like
and
any
she's
of
like,
this sounds...
Yeah. So she's like, but no, not till I find your replacement. You can't leave till so it was like, no, I don't care like that you don't have the replacement. Good. I gave you 30 days, like so many times. So I left, went back to Kentucky, got a temp job again. And that was when I was, assigned to a horse magazine, which changed the future of my life to where it is now, which worked out great. But so I even called her to see like, how are the horses doing? How's everything? Did you like find someone? And she said the person that came in after me, I think quit after 1 day. Maybe it was 2. Maybe it was a week. I don't know. It was some like shockingly short amount of time. And she was like, didn't have anyone. And like, basically the landscaper was like having a pitch in to help feed horses and, do all this stuff. And I'm like, I mean, you could have had me. Like, I could have been happy there, but, you didn't think of it until too late. So that was my story. Anyway, it just so many of the points in her book, that we were going to talk to Natalie about just really brought those emotions to the surface for me. Like, the training and the personalities, the upstairs, downstairs, you kind of called it the Charles Dickens, like there's the wealthy person with all the power. And then there's you that has no money and no resources and can't do anything. And you're just dying for a piece of this lifestyle that's so expensive and you rely on someone else to give you any part of it. And so no, I went to every major show, but I was just grooming and, just so tired of the travel. It was so hard with all that travel. And honestly, I didn't have a good experience with the wealthy people and the big trainers. They all were super rude to me. Like I was worse than scum on their shoe. And I'm like, hey, I grew up, in a pretty nice, like middle-class life. And I have a master's degree and these people are just treating me like I am just worse than the worst scum that they don't even know I exist. And things thankfully have changed. Grooms get a lot more recognition now, which I'm very, very happy to see in the USEA. There's a lot of groom awards and recognition now. So I think people are appreciating grooms. So yay for that. This was more than 20 years ago. So I think things have been changing. And I do think in the book, she is more appreciated, I think, than what I felt. So that was good. But sorry to ramble on for so long, but that was my story.
Well, no, I feel like you should consider putting these thoughts down, and this could be some kind of interesting article for a future Horse Illustrated magazine, and we can talk more about that later. But I would love to read a little bit of the back cover of Natalie Keller Reinert's soon to be in the world book. If you're listening to this before March 24th of 2026, you should go ahead and pre-order it now. And if you're listening to it after March 24th, 2026, it is out in the world and I think you'll enjoy it. So here we go. Brooke Haskell's got big dreams and she's running out of time. The equestrian life Brooke craves has always been just outside her reach. But like every horse girl, like Holly, she believes that pluck, heart, and hard work can catapult anyone into greatness. Unfortunately, her horse, Roxy, doesn't seem to agree. After her most disappointing horse show to date, and with only one more year before graduation and real life take over, Brooke is finally upset enough to do something rash. She decides to ditch her college plans, gasp, and her parents' wishes, risking everything to apprentice with one of the country's most famous equestrians, Eddie O'Neill. By the way, this is a fictional work. As she plunges headfirst into the breakneck pace of a top training stable, Brooke finally feels like she belongs. Her fellow working student might be a trust fund Instagram star, but they bond over their shared love of horses. And sparks fly with a colleague who seems to love this version of Brooke. But when Roxy goes from steady improvement to angry rebellion, Brooke realizes Eddie's reputation for training winners may come at a steep price. Brooke is finally poised to have the life she always wanted. But at what cost? Will she discover an uncomfortable truth about her idol? And what is she willing to give up in order to defend the sport she loves? Okay, I don't know if I'm ready to be a newscaster yet, but so Natalie Keller Reinert, a return guest, explores the passions that drive us, the love affairs that fuel us, and the partnerships, both animal and human, that help us thrive and find ourselves. On to the show with Natalie.
To celebrate Horse Illustrated's 50th anniversary in 2026, we are offering our Best of Horse Illustrated special collector's issue. This will be available March 31st, but is available for pre-sale now. The cover price is $9.99, and it includes 100 pages with a look inside our very first issue in 1976, our favorite covers over the years, the history of a changing magazine, our 5 most popular articles, and award-winning stories throughout the years. You can order now or pre-order at tinyurl.com/special50.
Today we are delighted to welcome a return Barn Banter guest, Natalie Keller Reinert. Natalie was with us 2 years ago for episode 18 when she dished out details on her many diverse jobs, including travel agent, Disney calligrapher, prolific writer of horse-themed stories. She shared with us a little bit about insights to being a full wrangler from when she was helping out at a breeding farm. And I quote you, Natalie, you said they were hairy little demons. So it's a fun episode. Our listeners should definitely check that out. But Natalie has a new novel out this month titled The Jump. And we are so lucky to get to deep dive with her on this latest work. So Natalie, thank you for coming back.
Thank you. I stand by hairy little demons.
Okay. So, I forgot to mention, so her book, The Jump, comes out on March 24th, and that is going to be available wherever books are sold. And I understand, too, that there's an audio version, which has a lot of horse people excited. They can listen while they're cleaning stalls or driving to the barn. Yeah, that's
There's
really
nothing
cool.
better than one earbud in while you're going out for a hack, or you're cleaning the pasture, or you're stacking hay, and you've just got an audiobook going. I love it. It makes the most mundane afternoon fantastic. I look forward to it.
That's awesome. Well, since you were here last, there have been some very exciting developments in your career, and we would love to just have you catch us up a little bit with your author life since you were last on the show talking about the hairy little demons.
Oh my gosh. So since the last time I was on the show, I have completely re-edited and rewritten my most popular series, the Eventing series, and put that out with Flatiron Books, which is a major publisher. And we are actually working on 3 more books right now. The Briar Hill Farm series, which was only out for a few months before we decided to work together. I wrote The Jump, which is my first hardcover novel that is coming out, as you said, March 24th, and began work on developing the Eventing series for streaming with Amazon MGM Studios. So a few things, we've worked on 12 books so far, and I'm really tired. And
Fueled by coffee.
So much coffee. I've learned how to make really good cold brew. That's an update.
Oh.
I didn't think it was ever going to happen for me, and it did. I'm thrilled.
I have not attempted that, so I'm intrigued, but we'll save that for a later conversation.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a seminar or something so I can get, because ADHD people like myself, some of us are fueled by caffeine and caffeine only. So, it's however you can get it into your system without destroying your stomach lining. Cold brew.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about The Jump. And I know you were kind enough to let Holly and I have some advanced review copies, and I'm on page 280 right now. Holly finished it, and as soon as she finished it, she texted me, and her question was, I'm dying to know the inspiration for this book. So I was like, you're in luck, Holly. We can talk to Natalie about that right now.
Yes. Well, I hope you don't want me to like start throwing names around because that's not going to happen. But
I mean, I want you to, but I understand that would not be a good idea. So yes, tell us, did you live this life? Did you just hear it from other people, that kind of thing?
Unfortunately, / fortunately, everything I've ever written has been based pretty closely on experiences that I've had. And I have been a working student. I've also been a professional groom, like paid a salary, for upper level, competitors. But I have been a working student, and the original concept of this book was just titled Working Student. And it was that story of, when the starry-eyed ingenue goes off to work for her hero and what chaos ensues from that. It's almost always going to be a disappointment. The question is, how big of a disappointment will it be? How much debt will you end up in? And what will you see along the way? How are you going to react to that? How is it going to change your relationship with your horse, with the business? You know, do you go to medical school afterwards and get as far away as you can? Or do you stick with the horse life for good? So that was the very kernel of an idea, was to just dig into the line between childhood and adulthood as a horsewoman.
And can you introduce us to a few of the main characters in The Jump, and maybe share with us any of the characters that really resonated with you? You kind of touched on this, but are you the main character?
No. Please, Susan, I'm always the main character. I learned that line from Heather Wallace. The main character actually is she's a lot like me. I'll admit she's about 2021. She is going to community college. She's putting in her dues. She's doing her time. Her parents gave her an ultimatum for when they were going to start charging her rent, because she's throwing every dollar she has at her horse. And, some things happen that just sort of throw her life into perspective. And she says, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. And so even though she's got some time left on her ultimatum with her parents and they're not going to budge and give her extra time, she decides to take a working student position with one of the top riders in the country. And she meets there some really great characters that I'm super fond of. Mainly her roommate. What's her name?
Lennox.
Lennox. My brain went straight to Madison. I'm like, that can't be it. What's the other street? It's Lennox. And Lennox is an influencer at the tender age of 21. She has had a very easy life on paper. She's got a great young rider's horse, and she's putting in her time with this working student position in hopes of going pro. And it looks early on like this relationship might be flawed from the start, sort of a have and have not. But if there's one thing I love, it's an unlikely friendship. So my goal was really to show how loving horses brings Brooke and Lennox together. And then, of course, I have a lot of fun testing that relationship later as things begin to change in the barn sort of atmosphere. They travel to Ocala for the winter circuit, and that is when things really heat up for them.
All right. I want to go back a little bit when you were saying Lennox or Madison, and I'm so curious. So I don't know if I ever told you this, Natalie or Holly, but many years ago, I was close friends with someone who worked with the author Sidney Sheldon, who was a prolific romance and romance, would that be right? Or
I am
mystery?
Not 100% sure.
Okay.
She's a little before my time.
So, well, it's a he. And anyway, so this is like in the 90s. And my friend was a court reporter by trade. And so the way Sidney Sheldon would do stories was just like speaking them out into existence. And my friend, this is before speech to text.
Yeah.
So she would be there doing her thing, getting the story. And then he'd say, make up a character name. This person is going to. So I was in one of the stories, not my first name, but my last name. And I was a person who died of a drug overdose. But anyway,
God, congratulations.
Thank you. So, and another friend of ours got to be the senator. So, Wow.
Right. That was really just chance that you brought up the senator.
I guess.
Or a senator who died of a drug overdose.
So my question is, where do you get the names for your characters?
Okay, so I don't know if there's a video component, to this podcast, but I'm going to show you how I get a name for a character, which is I'm typing and I realize I need a character and I stop and I look up and I swing my eyes around. And then I look at my bookshelf and I start looking at author names and I work from there because I'm, you know, and I work to find something that's going to fit the character in a certain way. Like I said, I thought Madison, and then I was like, what's another great street that you might, you know, a nouveau riche person might name their kid? Lennox. That's perfect. Right. But sometimes, especially bit characters, they just get whoever's like, I totally grabbed someone's last name off a book yesterday. Because I came up with the first name. I was like, I need a last name. And I looked and I saw an author's last name and I thought that would go good with that first name. And I used it. So
amazing.
I don't remember anybody's names anyway. So it's not like an essential part of my psychology.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Okay. So speaking of names, I know when we were talking, and you mentioned this earlier, that it was first going to be titled Working Student, and then it was changed to The Jump. And are you able to share with us the genesis of how it landed on The Jump?
Yeah, it's a really good story. My editor came back to me and she said, sales department doesn't like the name Working Student. They think it sounds like a memoir. I said, okay. And she said, so we need to come up with another name. And I was like, great. You can go ahead and send me whatever you think of. Because I just didn't have another. I had just like written and edited 9 books in a year and a half's time. And now they wanted a title. I didn't have a title.
The creative well was dry.
I gave you a title. You don't want the title. That's a you problem. So, I did send them a spreadsheet I have of potential titles, but my titles are crazy horsey and a little, some of them are probably cliched at this point. I feel like I've used a lot of my good titles up already. And she came back with a couple and then she's like, no, that's not going to work. And then she came back with The Jump and she said, I love The Jump because it represents Brooke's jump into a new life. And it represents her jump into this crazy world. Like it just has a lot of meaning from that perspective. And I said, no, great. That sounds great. I love that. And I think it does. I've come to think of it that way, that it's The Jump. She's stepping off this ledge and there could be anything on the other side. So it turned out to be a really good title, but that's, an editor's job is to see those things. So I'm happy she came through for me on that.
That's good. And then how long did it take you to write The Jump? And, did you have the concept for it, 15 years ago, and then you only, sat down and got it out into the world within the last year or so, or how did that work?
The initial concept I came up with maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And I knew I wanted to deal with, some of the darker things that we have seen from top trainers. I knew I wanted to have somebody have a reckoning with how she was going to face competition and training and what the value of a ribbon really was. So I knew I wanted to work with all of those things. I hadn't put those pieces together yet. And when I was working with the publisher on their proposal to do eventing series and Briar Hill Farm, they specifically wanted to do a book, a book on proposal. What have you got? And I said, this is the right time for this book. Mm-hmm. So I came up with a 1-page synopsis. I'm not a great planner. So that was an effort in and of itself. And then the writing of it itself took forever. And I probably threw away 5 beginnings. And we're talking 20,000 words worth of beginnings. And then I had a full half of a book that I sent to my editor, and she sent me a response, and my immediate response was to rewrite the beginning again. And she was like, no, please don't do that. She's like, it's fine. Stop rewriting it. So that was a hard lesson. So, all in all, the actual writing phase of it, I don't know, probably 9 or 10 months. And there were back and forth periods where I didn't have it for 3 weeks because it was with my editor. And then it would come back and she would have all these suggestions. And then I would read the comments and then put my head down and cry for a little bit because I didn't know how I was going to do it. But crying's part of my process. It's 100% okay. And And I learned a lot.
Wow.
While I was writing it. I came out a different person on the other side. So,
well, I have to say, I'm on page 280. So I've got about, another 100 pages to go. And as I've been reading, I just keep thinking about Charles Dickens. And there's nothing about England in there, but I'm thinking of the social commentary. And I feel like for anyone who loves horses, whether they compete or not, this is a very timely story to have out in the world. And I feel like you tell it in a non-heavy-handed way. And I've never been a working student, but there were pieces that I so identified with as the main character as well. And I know that's not really a question, but what is feel free to respond. And then what is it you really hope this book can, I don't know, bring into the world?
When I write my books, I'm usually trying to answer a question. And I probably said this 2 years ago, that I'm just trying to figure some stuff out for myself. And part of that is I'm really analytical and I see both sides of things. So you can say to me, a person could walk up to me and they could be like, that person is unkind to their horses. And I would say, oh my gosh, it's horrible. And then the trainer could come up to me and be like, here is everything I am accomplishing with these horses. And that is why it looks like this. And I'll be like, wow, that's super interesting. I need to make a chart. But at the end of the day, I had come to the conclusion that it's very basic, like a moment in time still exists for the horse. And that kind of became the center of what my character was seeing, was bad situations distilled down from overall maybe a good ride, but with a couple moments where you're like, the horse is in terror, the horse is in fear, the horse is in pain. And what does that mean exactly? What is the spend there, and what is the return? I don't know if that's a good way of phrasing it, but that's where I was working from, is what is it to the horse? And my other big question was, what causes people, anyone, myself, someone else, to feel like that moment's necessary to the horse? What are we fighting for? What is the prize at the end worth to us? So it was just a lot of questions about, where you start crossing the line, whether you realize you've crossed the line, how far you can go before somebody says something to you. Do you listen to that person? All of these questions. And it comes down to personality. And it comes down to someone's individual situation. And it always comes down to finances, And so that might not answer your question at all, but it wasn't really a question, so it's okay.
Well, I guess paired with that, what is your hope that people will experience, whether they listen to the audiobook or they read a copy? Do you think that way, or?
Yeah, no, I do. I do sort of, as I'm crafting, a lot of times like the final of the draft, like the emotion of my lead character and the way people are reacting to things. Because it is wonderful if you read something and it stops you in your tracks a bit and you think, have I thought like this? Have I been in this situation? How have I reacted? And I was really interested in that moment between childhood and adulthood where, we stop seeing our horses as big toys and we start seeing them as animals and partners, and we empathize with them and their feelings. And so it's interesting to me to see who never crosses that line, who never really becomes an adult and sees these things. And hopefully people can self-reflect a little bit and say, am I treating my horse like a sentient motorcycle? Or am I treating my horse like an animal with, I don't want to say hopes and anthropomorphize, but, hopes and dreams, essentially. Like, this horse hopes to go out and graze today and you're pulling him for an hour. And how is that going to be? What's the motivation there? That kind of thing. I think that I've changed a lot since I started writing horse books. I think my interest in R+ and my interest in horse psychology has ramped way, way up, and my interest in competition has fallen way, way off. Those two things are connected. So, when I write a competitive novel, I want to explore how those things can interact.
This is deep and it is good. And I'm loving every minute of this conversation. I feel like it's very important. It's important. This is like, yeah.
And it, and the thing that slows me down sometimes on these issues is that I'm not an expert. I'm an enthusiast, right? Like I've been an equine professional, but I'm not one now. I'm an amateur. I'm a person who loves horses a lot. I'm a person who reads and thinks and listens and studies about horses, but I'm not an expert. So when people ask me for like a deep expert opinion, I'm like, you're asking the wrong girl. But here's how I personally feel with the info that I have, my disclaimer.
So Natalie, couple questions. One is just your process and your workspace. I mean, we know there's cold brew coffee involved. And, when you write, it's amazing. I think you said you had like 5 or 6, like early, like 20,000 words of the jump.
Yeah.
Do you ever write scenes out of order, or is it like a little here and a little there and then you match them all up together? Yeah. Or maybe just give us a little, pull back the curtain, help us understand your writing process.
Well, I'm a fast writer. So that really helps. I can sit down in about 20 minutes. If I know what I'm going to say, I can knock out about 1,000 words. It doesn't mean they're going to stay put. But if I can sit down for an hour and write what is essentially a chapter, then it's kind of the first like third of a book comes pretty quickly. Then I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing for like 2 weeks. And then I get that stuff sort of hammered out. And then I spend another couple weeks going, I don't know what the ending is. And now the great thing is I can send it to editor and she'll be like, maybe it's about this. And I'll be like, do you know what? It might be about that. Because plot is not my friend. I'm such a vibe writer where I'll be like, what if there was a person and, to make it really simple, I'll be like, what if there was a girl and she was 21 and she wanted to be a working student and she did. Okay. And what happens to her? Well, like horse stuff, and my brain's like, something like there have to be like stakes, right? Like people have to want to keep turning the page. Like, no, I think they'll read it if she just rides every day. I think it'll be okay. So that stuff comes later. And it's hard. And I try to follow the energy that I have. So some days I have the energy to sit for hours, and some days I have the energy to work on it for a little bit. And then I will go out and take Ben for a hack and listen to music or something and let my brain wander, because the subconscious has to do a ton of work, before it'll all come out for me. Like, I can't imagine how much processing is going on, because I write things and I go, oh, the whole thing flows. How'd that happen? It wasn't by chance, but I also didn't consciously do it.
Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and then you have oh, this is it? Like magically your brain has solved it? I wouldn't say recently. Oh.
But I definitely have. And I've woken up and written down dreams and been like, oh, this is going to make a great book. Like the Project Horse, came from a dream idea that I wrote down. So I can't remember the dream now, but I know that's where the idea for the book came from.
That's really cool. What are you working on next?
Well, right now I am doing revisions on the Briar Hill Farm series. So that's 3 books that include the characters from the Eventing series. Jules and Grace and Alex and Amanda, all of these people that I brought together in my big Ocala universe. And I had written these books right before I started working with this publisher. So some of them were only on sale for a few months before we decided we were going to pull them and do new editions. So I'm doing the edits on the 3rd one right now. And I expect that they'll start hitting stores at the end of the year. So I'll have 3 new books coming out. I have, The Jump coming here in March, and then I'll have 3 books coming out 2026, 2027. So that'll be really fun.
And I'm eager to know, besides horses and reading, I know you're a voracious reader because I follow you on Instagram and I always see what you're picking up at the bookstore, what you've just read. But what do you like to do for fun? Do you have fun?
I have a lot of fun. I like to travel. I I would like to, and lately it's been like low key travel, but I used to like to go to Europe and just kind of like do these big, crazy adventures. Lately it's been like, can I go on a cruise? Can I do something that requires no effort whatsoever? Because I really need to unwind from the level of work that I've been under for the last couple of years. I escape to Disney often. It's just like.
So you have a pass?
Yeah.
Don't you have a pass too, Holly? Yeah. For Disneyland? Does Holly? No, you don't.
Oh,
I thought you had a pass.
If I were anywhere near Disneyland, you know I'd have a pass.
I love Disney. I absolutely love it. I was actually thinking about that. Yeah. I'm gonna try to get a pass in the next couple of years. Right now we're Legoland because I have a 6-year-old, so it's Legoland every weekend.
Makes sense. Yeah, they're gonna be done with that shortly. Those height requirements are pretty low. Yeah, I have a Florida resident annual pass, thank goodness. And that is a huge lifesaver because I really decompress at Disney. I don't go there to like get on rides. I go there to walk around and be in like, I kind of like the same reason people go to Europe, to go to a city center and walk around. There's no cars beeping at you. You can relax.
That's fun.
Clean restrooms. It's all right there.
That's a good point.
Okay. So Natalie, I have a couple more questions and then I'm sure Holly has many that she would like to ask you. So, and this might be a little bit selfish, but what is the best writing advice you've ever received? And what is advice you would give to someone who likes to write horse stories or just stories in general? So the best advice you've received, the best advice you'd like to give others. Our listeners.
I think the best writing advice that I've really taken advantage of over the past few years has been to really write the first draft for yourself. And I say that because I've been running a self-publishing business for 14 years and I have amassed a lot of readers, and it became pretty essential to my style that I wrote what my readers were looking for. It wasn't hard. After a while, with this, I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of comments. I have a Patreon. People read early stuff. So, I work with feedback from my regular readers nonstop. And when I moved into this new sort of facet of publishing, the traditional publishing industry, I came with a lot of market knowledge that I think most authors don't have rattling around in their brain. Most authors don't run a business. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You run a business. But a lot don't. They stare at me whenever I'm like, oh, I've got marketing data and this, that, and they're like, what is happening? And so to push myself and to grow as a writer and to get out a story idea that was half baked at first and then had to develop into something very quickly, I really had to stop thinking about market and just trust my gut and what I was looking for and what made me feel really strongly about the story. I had to get really passionate about it in a way that I don't think I had been for a while. And some people will say, oh, when you lose your passion, it's not fun to write anymore. And I didn't really, I wouldn't characterize it as that. I just knew what I wanted to get out for my readers. And then I wrote it. It was great. It was the best job ever. But to get really passionate about something brings that extra something to the book, and the marketability of a book can come in the third draft or the fourth draft or, whatever. And you could start saying, well, I think our readers are going to want a little bit of this. And so, okay, you add a couple sentences and add a little bit of that. It's not hard. It sounds like it's going to be hard, and it's never more than a little tiny bit. And then it sort of fits what your market's looking for. But all the other pieces came right from your gut. So that's my advice situation. That would be my advice to anybody who wants to write anything is you got to dig way into your gut, and it should hurt a little bit.
And are there any questions that you wish interviewers would ask but never do? Now's your big chance.
Any questions? I'll tell you what people should ask. They should ask me about my favorite season. And then I could tell them, I could talk for an hour about summer and the diurnal monsoon pattern and the rainy season and prevailing winds and El Nino and La Nina. We could do it if you wanted to. We could make this a weather podcast.
Okay, so I think I did share this with you before. So in your eventing series, I really appreciated kind of you using the weather and setting as kind of a character. It's it's like not a person, obviously, but it really helped me picture it, and I appreciate that. And
that was so important to it.
Sorry. I'm going to turn it over to Holly, because I feel like I've been hogging the conversation.
No, thank you. I have enjoyed hearing everything that she had to say, and I just want to say that, I did read the book and I loved it. I feel pretty qualified to say it's good based on, I read like 50 to 100 books a year. I'm an editor of a magazine. Like, I read all day, every day. So, just enjoying the story, and
you might have some knowledge.
It's like really being pulled in. And, like we were saying, it might have been before we started recording, when I was 24, I was a groom for an eventer and did the traveling Virginia to Ocala, and, sweating, like Susan said, the weather's like a character, the sweat of just doing those stalls in that first week where she's in so much pain. It's like, oh my gosh, this is just so real. So I hope if people have not experienced it, like, you don't need to, but you can feel exactly what it's like. But, just like her, 100%. What she wants, it's like so clear, she can't go back to where she came from because the reasons are, very clear, and what she wants to achieve, it's very clear, but there's this tension of, is she going to get there? How's she going to do it? There's conflict, you're like, what's going to happen? So, I just want people to go out and, like you said, it's on audiobook. So if people want to hear it that way, they sure can. I'm a Kindle reader personally, so I read it on my Kindle, which I also love. Yeah. That's not really a question, but I guess, my question always to writers is like, I just have no idea how you guys do it. And Susan already covered. I just loved hearing from you. You've written so many books, and I just can never believe when I'm like, man, authors just come out with books. Like, if I had to write one book in the next 10 or 20 years, I don't know if I could do it. So we appreciate that. But yeah, just tell us, how can people connect with you? You said you had Patreon, Instagram, like what's the best way? I know it's kind of nice to feel like that interaction with an author. I always love to follow them and see what they're up to.
Yeah, I have really pared down. I'm actually mostly on Instagram right now, and that is Natalie K. Reinert on Instagram. And then I post a little bit on Substack at Natalie K. Reinert. And if people want to like read new work, unreleased work, get like a semi-regular update from me that has sort of the sad parts as well as the like social media parts, that's all at my Patreon. I keep all of that behind a paywall. So for $1 a month, you can find out what it really feels like to have to edit 12 books in 2 years. And then, yeah, I do. There's actually a ton of unpublished work on Patreon as well. So I like to keep my patrons I've been doing it for almost 10 years, I think. And my patrons are just like the most fantastic sort of sounding board and provide me with so much feedback that I just try to give back as much as I can, like write, Christmas stories and random novellas and prequels, things like that, and put that on there. So yeah, I have a really good time with my Patreon.
Hoping that you could let us know where you're going to be this year.
Oh yeah. So I have a few events lined up already. March, obviously the book comes out March 24th, and I'm going to do a couple of events right around there. I'm going to be at the Bookmark in Neptune Beach, Florida on the 24th. And then the following Wednesday, I'm going to be at Joseph Beth Booksellers in Lexington, Kentucky. And on Friday night, after that, whenever that date is, I'm going to be at Joseph Beth in Cincinnati. And then on the following Tuesday, March 31st, I'm going to have a party at the Lynx in Gainesville with Tick Maynard. And so we'll be in conversation. Tick will have books there as well. You can come out and meet him. And then we're going to try to pull in as many cool horse people as we can to have a fun night at the Lynx. And there's a great pizza place next door. I'm just saying. So,
well, my last question is just so Brooke's story is complete. Is this a standalone, or is there possibly any more with Brooke after you said Briar Hill is the next series coming up? So I'm just wondering what's out there in the future.
It's hard to say. I haven't really had that discussion yet. I have had multiple requests already for a sequel. It would totally be possible. But I haven't been able to think that far ahead and have that conversation with anybody. So I guess we'll see. If, the best way to get more books that you like, right, is to promote the ones, to have readers help promote the ones that they like to read. So if you want more of Brooke, then you need to kind of do a little legwork for me and either order it or ask your library to order it or make a post about it on social media and tell people to read it. Or buy it for your trainer or do whatever it takes. Because it's word of mouth buzz is the most important kind of book marketing. So if people like something, they should share about it a ton. And that is what would, if people are all saying, oh my God, we need a sequel to this. Well, eventually you'll probably get one because I'll write it. You can't stop me. And really the same thing goes for if people want to watch it on TV. It all comes down to word of mouth buzz. Just like working on the eventing series for TV, we really need people to continue being really excited about that right up until it starts filming, and then to watch it the first week that it's out, all those things. It really depends on the consumer at this point because companies won't do anything without knowing that they're going to get eyeballs on their work.
I'm all for it. I mean, if Heartland can have a countless seasons, right? I feel like the eventing series is just, yeah. And Holly and I would be willing to be extras. We could.
My wait list is really long, but you guys are clearly near the top. I have a very long wait list.
Give me a horse to ride. I'll do it.
No, I'm not going to be riding extra. Holly would love to do that for you, though.
Oh, perfect.
I just want to be like a passerby.
Kentucky 3-day shirt on today.
That reminds me, of course, that I'll be at Kentucky 3-day event as well. I didn't even think to mention that. But the end of April, obviously, I always go to Kentucky now. And so I'll be there once again and have my books and maybe some really cool related merchandise. We'll have to see.
Ooh.
But it's looking good.
Well, thank you again for coming to our show, to Barn Banter. It's been delightful bantering with you, as always, Natalie. We're very excited about The Jump, and we hope that all of our listeners will read it, tell their friends about it, buy it.
Yeah, you summed up my feelings, all of that. Thank you so much.
Another way we're celebrating Horse Illustrated's 50th anniversary in 2026 is with our HI Hero of the Month contest. Go to horseillustrated.com/monthlyhero and tell us who your HI hero is. It could be a vet, trainer, therapist, or anyone who has made a contribution to the lives of horses or the people who care for them. Winners will receive a prize for themselves and the person they nominated. Monthly winners will be featured on social media with a year-end wrap-up in our print magazine.
Joining me today to talk about our adoptable horse, Damara, I have April Perry, and she is with the Kentucky Humane Society. And it looks to me from the pictures like Damara is a very cute chestnut mare, saddlebred possibly. Could you tell us all about her, the background that you know about her and all that good stuff, how she came to you and all that kind of thing?
Sure. So we had a person reach out to us about Damara and her foal, who was actually an adult horse as well. Both of them came in with an older Mustang. They're both saddlebreds. Damara is registered. They were surrendered to us and not in the best shape. I believe the lady was having some difficulty taking care of them. And so they were surrendered to us, and Damara was still nursing her adult daughter. And there's a little bit of variable in the story that we were given. However, we believe that the daughter was between 4 and 6 years old. So Damara was pretty underweight when she came to us, and hadn't really been asked to do a whole lot. And so it took some time to get her vetted and make sure that she didn't have any serious issues that we were not aware of. And once everything was known from that angle, we were able to go ahead and wean her daughter and separate them and work on getting them both where they needed to be health-wise. So Damara is very sweet. She is classic saddlebred, so she's got a little bit of a bigger personality, and she's pretty snorty at things that other horses wouldn't necessarily be snorty at. But I think with the consistent situation, she would probably settle in very nicely and make someone a lovely animal to have as their horse.
It sounds like she might have some suitability. So definitely under saddle would be possible, which a lot of the horses we profile are companion only. So it's always exciting to hear about what they could do under saddle too, just for a change of pace. Like she might be even a potential lesson horse, or, you know, something that could teach somebody possibly a little bit. Can you just talk about how her under saddle evaluation has gone?
Sure. She was ridden a couple times by Olivia Dixon, who is our former equine manager, and her first evaluation was not super exciting. Olivia stated that she thought she was well broke, but very green, or possibly just hadn't been ridden in quite a long time. You know, she's, like I said, a classic saddlebred, so she's wanting to snort at things and that kind of stuff. Her second evaluation ride was, I guess, about 2 months ago, give or take, and she did have some probably arthritis behind, so she could probably be suitable for, you know, lower level, not a huge work burden, but, you know, maybe somebody that likes a little spicier horse to go down the trail on. She probably needs some, you know, arthritis management kind of stuff, but we did have her x-rayed and she didn't show anything that way. So, you know, she's just an adult horse who's kind of been out of any kind of consistent work program for quite a while, and she's just, you know, had her baby and kind of given everything to the baby to take care of. And so, you know, she's a really sweet mare, and she's very pretty. And like I said, in the right situation, she would probably make someone, you know, a lovely mount, you know, with some arthritic management.
Makes sense to me. She sounds great, and I just love her pictures. So hopefully everyone will go take a look on our podcast page to see what she looks like. I just really like the look of her. She has that classic saddlebred look, but she just also looks sweet. There's just something nice about her. So, and it looks like with the Kentucky Humane Society, you guys are located in Simpsonville, Kentucky. And for those that don't know, can you tell us what is that near? And then maybe a little bit about the type of facility, how many horses, what other types of animals, if any, that you have there.
Okay. We are on Todd's Point Road in Simpsonville. As you mentioned, we are not very far, maybe like 5 miles from the outlets there, if anybody's familiar with that. And we are at the facility is called Willow Hope Farm. It was named after a couple of intakes in the past, before I was there, and I apologize, I don't know the timeline of that, but we have 2 different farms that are, one separated by a really wonderful neighbor, and we have, I think, about 32 horses at this time. A large number of them are ferals, because we took in a group called the McGoffin 39 back in November. So there were 39 horses from McGoffin County that we rescued, and we are working on meeting their medical needs, meeting their training needs, getting them evaluated for what they would be best suitable for. But we have, I think, 7 mares on site that are pregnant from that group. So we're excited about some babies coming. Actually, some this month we project that are due. But we have, about 3 horses currently in our home herd group, which we use for volunteers, different organizations that come out to learn about horses and experience what it's like to handle horses and take care of them and that kind of thing. And Damar is currently in the home herd just to get her on a kind of a more consistent handling situation. And she does love to come in and be socialized with, and of course get, the extra attention and the alfalfa and that kind of stuff. So we also have 2 mules. One came in from Eastern Kentucky with the feral herd, and then the other one was a surrender from the area. His name is Murphy, and the feral that came in, his name is Chico. And both of those guys are really cool for someone that likes that mule personality, and they are looking for homes. And then we have 5 donkeys that came in recently, actually a family. So the mom is 22, and then 4 of her children came in with her, and they are 20, 19, 18, and 17. And they have just recently been medically evaluated and given the green light. They've had their feet done, and they will be looking for homes as well. So we typically only have horses, mules, and donkeys on our farm. But that's kind of a brief rundown of what we have right now. We're all kind of excited for the babies to start coming, and for the probability of being able to take care of them and keep them moms healthy to the best of our ability, and make sure that the babies get the best start to their lives as well. So I think that's about it as far as what we have on hand currently. But we are always interested in having people come out to do tours so that they can see the farm, spend some time getting to meet Damara and meet some of our other home herd horses and see some of our ferals. And then once the babies start arriving, they'll be able to, see them probably from afar for a while. But yeah, we're pretty excited about what spring is bringing to us.
Well, that's always fun. I know a lot of the rescues we talk to in Kentucky have a lot of thoroughbred-based adoptions, so it's nice for anyone in that area that's looking for non-thoroughbreds. Like you said, I think I remember that story with the McGoffin 39, so that's amazing work that you guys are doing there. And I haven't lived in Kentucky for a while, but Simpsonville is just right outside of Louisville, right, for our out-of-state people that might be interested. So
yes.
All right. Well, April, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your interest in our farm and our facility.
For special rates on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazine subscriptions just for our podcast listeners, visit horseillustrated.com/barn banter.
Don't be shy. Show us some barn banter love by leaving a review, and you can tell all your friends too.